What's an argument that you lost because the other person was too dumb to understand your logic? Guy once told me he was speeding on his motorcycle one night in the freezing cold and was almost caught by a police helicopter with an infrared camera. He said he ditched the copter by taking his coat off and cooling his body down to ambient temperature so the infrared camera couldn't see him. I ignored the fact that he'd be dead if his body temp dropped that much and simply asked why they couldn't pick up the heat from the engine. He said infrared cameras only pick up heat from organic sources. At this point I decided against even trying to argue against any of the ridiculous points he was trying to make and just noped right out of the conversation. Smart thing to do. It doesn't seem likely he'd ever listen to any of your arguments. It's hard to argue with a smart person. It's impossible to argue with a dumb person. They'll pull you down to their level and win with their experience. Hence why flat earthers and anti-vaxxers still exist. You should always drive as fast as possible to get the best miles per gallon. Driving twice as fast cuts your travel time in half and cuts your gas usage in half as well. Wow. Right. I always knew she liked driving fast. When I let her borrow my car I told to slow down a bit and her response was, sure, no problem. I'm not the one paying for gas. That started the explanation about how stopped cars with the engine running use gas and cars driving fast use gas, so you may as well drive fast and stop using gas sooner. After about an hour I had to give up. There was one time me and another person in our office had to use a company car in town. It was low on gas, but not bad, so we didn't worry about filling it up. The next day a coworker chastised me and the other person cause she had to take it out of town and the fuel light came on. We felt bad obviously and apologized. Then she went on and said yeah I had to go over 120 kilometers per hour just so I could get into town before I ran out. We went from feeling bad and apologetic to whoa wait a minute what? That was also a long convo about optimal speed for fuel efficiency. Skids into parking lot, gets out of car, that was close, walks off. My coworker thinks that police radar guns work by scanning cars to see how hot their engine is. Because the faster you go, the hotter it will be, right? I tried explaining how Doppler radar works, but she remains convinced that she's correct because, and I quote, my husband has one of those radar guns and uses it when he's cooking on the grill. Your husband has an infrared thermometer, you fucking nut. Ask her how fast a steak travels when her husband grills one. Do you know how fast you were going? Medium rare. Careful. At that speed you could T-bone somebody. Why it's not cheaper to buy a new $1,200 phone on a 24-month payment plan than to fix a phone that's paid off with a broken screen. $150. Oof. My family falls for the small monthly fee thing a lot and it drives me nuts. I swear Rent Center has a shrine set up for how much my mom has spent there. She usually has the money to buy outright or could easily save up, but she honestly thinks it's a better deal because it's only $25 a week. That's basically nothing. I'm surprised Rent Center hasn't been shut down. I can't think of a more predatory business. I was actually looking into renting an Xbox earlier this year because mine was being serviced and there would have been about a week overlap between getting it back and a release I was planning around. It blew my mind to find out renting to own an Xbox for the duration of its lease through Rent Center would be about $1,700 for a $400 piece of electronics that will be obsolete by the time you pay it off. Yeah, it's nuts. I worked at a second-hand game store for a while and some lady was shocked to hear that Wii U consoles were like $200. She said that she had been renting one from the local Rent Center and to buy it outright they wanted $900. Total insanity. A guy argued that a baby grand piano was for little children during their earliest piano lessons, saying that's why they are called baby grands. I explained that the term baby grand simply refers to the smallest size of a grand piano, about 4 feet 5 long. He just insisted that baby grands were for little children, and that's why they are called baby grands. File this under arguments that can be resolved in a single Google search. Now, these people mock anyone who tries to use a Google search as ignorant and gullible. It really grinds my gears. Most entries to this thread can be similarly resolved by a single Google search. My coworker believed in the we only use 10% of our brains myth. I tried everything but there was no getting through to him. I'm pretty sure he's only using 10% of his brain. Or less, probably like 0,0000001% of it most likely. My go-to counter argument, did you know that we can only use 33% of stoplights? Imagine if we used 100%. We only use a certain percentage of our brain at a time. Different parts at different times. All of it at some time. Somehow I never realized that was what that line refers to, despite knowing different parts of our brain handle different things and we use all the parts as the situation requires. Maybe I was thinking we only consciously use 10% and the rest is our unconscious mind sorting memories and such. Probably not what I was thinking, but I can't come up with another explanation for my stupidity about that line. Guy said that I could touch a black hole because they only targeted stars and planets. I wanted to die. I was trying so hard not to laugh. True. I have a pet black hole at home. Problem is, every time he's hungry he goes to music festivals. Poor artists. Have my upvote you filthy animal. Thanks. I need you to be my survey sample though. I was wondering if the rock and pop stars at music festivals joke was too unobvious. I'm worried because I found the joke so bad that it had to be in there. In HS football, the night before a game, we would get together and set goals for the game. Defense set the goal of greater than 200 total yards of offense allowed. I corrected the greater than to a less than to make it less than 200 yards. They disagreed adamantly and kept the greater than. I was tutoring 4 of them in math at the time. They also hit their goal, more than 200 yards given up. When I was in elementary school I had a hard time remembering which symbol meant greater less than. Then I had a teacher draw a little eye above the symbol and draw some sharp teeth inside the symbol and told me the hungry mouth always faces the bigger number. Then I had to ask myself, is the number on the left greater than or less than the number on the right? I still mentally draw a hungry mouth. The big end is close to the bigger number. The small end is closer to the smaller number. HMM. Yes, your mnemonic has merit. Boo it. Needs more googly eyes and sharp teeth. This is how I learned it. Bigger end, bigger number. Mine was the less than symbol. Less than. When straightened makes an L, used to draw the L and then erase everything to correct after solving properly. I'm dyslexic. I did not get credit in a game of Trivial Pursuit for my guess of King Tutankhamun. The correct answer was, yep, you guessed it, King Tut. I was like 13 and we had just done an Egypt study in school. So, I was positive about being correct and pretty proud for knowing it. Kinda reminds me of when I was 6 and the teacher asked what comes after summer and I said autumn and she said nope. After summer is fall. Angry English NOISES asterisk. Angry foreigner having learned autumn first noises. Asterisk NODS vigorously in AUSTRALIAN asterisk. Fall is the older word. 4.0. Shut up boomer. I'm a bartender. When I put a drink up to be run to a table in the restaurant, the servers have to put a garnish on depending on the drink. I see new guy standing there staring at the lemons. Ask him what the deal is and he responds, these limes aren't ripe yet. Try to explain that's not how that works and guy tells me I don't have to be an A asterisk asterisk HOLE. Suffice to say, with lowered DAR standards for servers lately, some say he's still waiting for those limes to ripen to this day. He's gonna be waiting a while. Not if he can't figure it out. Will he ever return? No, he'll never return. Oops, wrong song. I'm trying to make life through the day it decided to give me limes. The worst thing is limes turn yellow as they ripen. Limes are eaten unripened. He was so wrong. He couldn't have been any more wrong. Was trying to ask my neighbors to shut their dogs up at night because we can't sleep. But my dogs never bark. There they are, barking in the background. SMH and walk away. I reject your reality and substitute my own. Failure is always an option. Is r/unexpected Mythbusters a thing? It should be. Done. r/subs I wish were real. Wild Mythbusters references appear. A guy I knew in high school insisted Hawaii was in the Gulf of Mexico because that's what it showed on the map. He even opened our textbook to show and then looked at me like I was an idiot. I just told him to educate everyone he could then. Alaska is an island to right. Canada is not usually shown on a US only map, especially one that moves Hawaii into the Gulf in order to fit on the page. Till that, Canada does not exist. It exists, but only after you acquired a Canadian map. AAH. Cool. But wait, this isn't a real map. The country is the wrong shape. I know because I have my US map here. Canada is obviously fake. Some of these words aren't even real words. Saskatchewan? That's not a word. Why wouldn't Canada be shown on a US map? It's one of my favorite states. A guy I used to work with believed that germs were a myth. He thought bad air is what made you sick. We worked in a meat department. Luckily he would wash his hands and keep stuff clean, but his logic was dirty things make bad air. I tried so hard to convince him germs were real, to the point I would print off literature of various educational levels, from kindergarten to college level, and he believed it was all a hoax. It drove me up a wall. He also believed the moon landing was fake. We got in heated arguments over it, to the point my boss put a ban on discussing the moon at all. Now this is just a hunch, but your coworker may be a time-traveling gentleman from the Victorian era. Everyone knows it's the miasma. Sewer problems intensify. I hope nobody comes down with the vapors. Let's spread around Dr. Bob's all-purpose tincture just to be sure. An imbalance of bodily humors. I was trying to explain to my roommates that we can't leave our front door unlocked 24/7, especially when no one is in the apartment and when they're out and I'm sleeping, and that they should replace the keys they lost. Plus we are on a college campus where theft is pretty common and my room was broken into the previous year. We live in on a college campus so we're safe. What good is a locked door going to do if someone comes in with a gun? If something happens, that's just life. We went around in circles for 27 minutes. Worst argument ever. Oh man, he should know that in some cases, there is more crime on college campuses than in the general city they live in. What is worse is that is reported crime, because colleges like to hide this information and keep it from being reported if they can. I wouldn't trust anything unlocked anywhere near a 5 miles radius of a college campus. They didn't believe that, even after I told them my room was broken into last year. One of their arguments was that room at 1 got mugged, that downtown area known for being sketchy at night, but not where we live, so we're safe. One of my college teachers gave us a test on computer hardware. One question was, what is the most important part of any computer? It was multiple choice. CPU, memory, motherboard. So, I told him that the question made no sense. All of the parts are necessary. No one is most important. Without anyone, the computer would not work. He insisted that it was the CPU. Of course the question was flawed. The answer is obvious. The user. Ducks incoming chair. You must have misread the question. It was asking which part was the one that made it work, not the one that made it stop working. I haven't had a belly laugh like that in a while. I'd gild if I had some to spare. Knowing I made someone a bit happier is good enough for me.